Hello, Jordan.
What's up, Michael?
I am sick and tired, but we're going to press on and record back-to-back podcasts today.
Man, it sort of sounds like you're like, I'm sick and tired of, but like, no, you're legitimately sick and tired.
Yeah, I'm sick and I'm quite exhausted, but we're pressing on.
I'm sorry, bro. That sucks.
No, it's part of life. Part of life is pushing through when you don't want to do things.
That's true.
Where do you want to begin? We're going to do a lot of Q&A. I have one question. I have a very non-fitness abstract thought that might just be because I'm like sick and my brain's all foggy and could either come out very convoluted or like potentially genius. I'm not sure which.
Let's start with that. Let's start with that one.
Okay. So would you agree that the best way to learn a lesson and for it to be ingrained in a person is through a really good story?
That is definitely one of the best ways. If you're trying to teach someone a principle or, yeah, absolutely. I think if you're trying to teach someone a principle or an important component, yes, I agree with that. It's one of the best ways.
I also agree. And I didn't always think this. I thought that you know, if you stated a principle or if you stated like a moral foundation or, you know, you could just state it as a bullet point in a single sentence and it would be understood rather than telling a story that evokes emotion and is easier to remember and is sticky and is a better way to teach that lesson. Okay, so operating as if that's true. I'm seeing more and more like big names starting to write fiction, which is interesting. Tim Ferriss is the one that comes to mind. But
really?
And so that separately is interesting to me. I'm gonna try and connect all these random things going on in my brain. And additionally, and then I think we have a problem in society right now that many of the problems in society right now stem from men and people being weak-minded, weak physically, weak mentally, weak emotionally, weak spiritually, weak in many ways. And that's bubbling up to the surface and causing directly or indirectly a lot of the problems that we're having. So let me try and pull this all together.
You can do it. I know you can.
I think, okay. So on top of that, I don't know if this is just me personally or if this applies to others, but emulation of certain individuals is one of the ways in my life that I have, call it like upgraded my character. Mm-hmm. or my moral being, or like the way that I act and am in the world. And we live in this time where it's very hard to have non-fictional, real-life people to emulate because everyone is getting, first of all, because all humans are imperfect, and because everyone is tearing everyone down. So you can have someone who's like 99% good. Like, let's take Martin Luther King, for example. People hate on Martin Luther King Jr., who did such amazing things because, but he cheated on his wife. Like that's one of many examples where you have someone who does something that is incredible and amazing, but then because they're a real person and they're not perfect, you have people tearing them down. Fictional characters can't be torn down because fictional characters can be made as the ideal. And I think of like General Maximus in Gladiator. I think of William Wallace in Braveheart. I think of Harry Potter is a really good example. I think of Jon Snow, like these protagonists who live in a way that is the ideal. But you can't just state the ideal. The whole story arc teaches the ideal, and I think the popularity of all four of those pieces of fiction, in and of itself, is enough evidence that is something that we are hungry for and that we need. So and I can list way more examples than just like MLK Jr. is the first one that came to my mind, but many other like really good people in society are easily torn down and made out to be villains or made out to be like someone who shouldn't be emulated, even if they have a lot of really good ideas and good messages and things that we need as a society. So I think if there is an uptick in the amount of fiction production, I think many of the characters that come out of that wave could change the shape of society in the future.
Are you thinking that the characters coming out of this fiction wave potentially would be like great characters for people to try and emulate, you think, like in terms of
I assume like kind of like a cream rises to the top in fiction that would happen. Like like there's a reason why the Harry Potter series was so unbelievably popular and a million other fiction series over that 20-year window weren't.
Yeah. I also think, and I don't know if this is the direction you were going or not, but the direction that I took it is that, you know, someone like MLK Jr., one of the most extraordinary people the world has ever seen for so many different reasons. I think that it's so interesting to see how people would try and tear someone down or essentially try to say he's not a good person because of the mistake that he made against the preponderance of evidence showing how extraordinary he really was, right? Where I think there's a very famous quote that I did not come up with that I love. Goes to the effect of, people judge themselves by their intent and other people by their actions. And I'm going to say this one more time because it's like it takes a minute. But people tend to judge themselves by their intent. And I'm not doing this for you, but for everyone listening. People judge themselves by what they intend to do, and they judge other people by their actions, what they actually ended up doing. And it's interesting for me to watch people tear someone down because of one mistake, almost as though they themselves have never made a mistake. And it's so interesting to me to see the masses go nuts over one mistake. And maybe it was a big mistake. Maybe it was a really, really big mistake. But everybody's made mistakes. We've all done it. And it's just so interesting how people will like freaking go nuts to try and tear someone down when like, well, look at how much good they've done as well. Like we can't just ignore that. You know what I mean?
Dude, yes, I completely know what you mean. I think that's a great point. And I think the reason why they tear that person down is because there is such deep envy for the 99% good that person does. So because I know that I'm not living up to who I could be and this person is, rather than try to like step by step, brick by brick, improve myself and live a better life, I'm going to focus my energy on the 1% of that person and try and tear them down. I think that's the primary driving force of that behavior.
So here's what I think could be a potentially interesting question pertaining to all of this. So you use the example of, you know, the fictional character, essentially they're all good. It's an all good character. Like there's nothing bad about them. They live ideally all the time. Could there be an unrealistic expectation placed upon all of us because of the expectations that we have set in these fictional characters? So for example, here's another one. We look at like these movies that we watch growing up, whether it's Snow White and the Seven Dwarves or whatever it is, where we have these like movies where there's Prince Charming. And Prince Charming is coming to save this damsel in distress. And it's funny because it gives young boys the wrong impression of how they're supposed to act. And it also, and young girls the wrong impression of how men are supposed to act. And it also gives young girls the wrong impression of how they're supposed to act, and young boys the wrong impression of how women are supposed to act. And so I'm also wondering, like, are these unrealistic expectations also part of the reason of why we might tear someone down? Because subconsciously or not, we have this idea that, like, oh, this person is this perfect individual. This person is, maybe we see them from afar. We think this person is perfect. We think they are like the ultimate. They're like the fictional character who's perfect. And then when we do find out, oh no, they are just a human. They are imperfect. Well, and then they latch on to the one thing that they did that is no longer like that fictional character. And then they want to tear them down because of that. Like, what do you think about that?
I don't remember Snow White, but what I would say is I don't remember Snow White. I can't comment on that. You don't
remember Snow White perfectly. It's more the concept of this Prince Charming or this like perfect princess type thing.
I can only speak so I don't know. What I do think is that having
just ruined my whole fucking speech.
No, it didn't. I think that even if the ideal,
I thought that was genius.
Even if the ideal is unachievable by mere mortals, striving for the ideal is the proper way to live.
Yes, I agree. I
don't want the ideal to be imperfect just for our, like, shoot for the moon, and if you fall upon the star, like that kind of thing. I think that applies. I think you should aim for, and a lot of people probably disagree with this.
No, I agree. It's like,
but don't beat yourself up if you don't get there, but still try to get there, because that's the journey.
What I'm saying, and maybe it actually does matter that you don't remember Snow White, is that like Prince Charming in Snow White, to my memory, I haven't watched it in a long time, wasn't perfect. It like wasn't like wasn't perfect. And even Snow White, obviously it's the main character, and it's the character that I would imagine women want to be like, but it's not perfect from the perspective of, how can I phrase this? It's like, I'll use Prince Charming because I'm the boy, and like I think that's who you resonate with. When you're a boy, you resonate with Prince Charming, and girls tend to resonate with Snow White. But like,
sexist
pig. I think that Prince Charming is portrayed in a certain way that we're told that that's how women want men to behave. But in reality, it's actually not how they want men to behave. And I think that in reverse, Snow White is they're told how men want women to behave, but in reality, that's not how men want women to behave in that same way, which creates this false idea of what we're supposed to be like, which then causes resentment as a result of this fake narrative or this fake idea that's not actually what you're supposed to be like. And maybe this is a separate topic now that I'm thinking about it, but
I would just call that subpar fiction. I would say that then Prince Charming is not the same ideal that William Wallace is.
That makes sense. Yep. That Jon Snow is. That makes total sense. Because Jon Snow is the ideal. Like, he is honest. He is loyal. He is truthful. He is a warrior.
Tough,
he can protect.
sacrificial.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. That makes total sense.
You're as stubborn as your father was and as honorable. I can think of no greater compliment.
Yeah.
You still watching?
I took a pause, not for any other reason. What was I doing?
Did you get to the Red Wedding?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so you're in season 4?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You paused in season 4? The best season of the show?
Dude, I'm really trying to savor this moment in time.
Okay.
You know, I don't want to rush through this incredible season. I want to savor the moment. And I've also, I've been traveling a lot. I try and save my TV for when I'm doing cardio. Like so for example, even though we'll sit down and we'll watch TV sometimes at night, I try and save the shows that I really, really like for when I'm doing cardio. So it's like, because I've got like 30 to 60 minutes where I can just watch with undivided attention. Whereas when we're in the apartment, I'm still paying attention to my baby or my wife and stuff. I don't want to watch something that like needs my full attention.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah. What are you watching right now?
We put a pause on Game of Thrones.
What season?
End of 5. So
okay.
Spoiler, if you haven't watched, don't listen. But Jon Snow just died. My wife and I sold it well. I was like, yeah, it's the worst. I can't believe they killed him off too. Like, da 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 da. She's up in arms about it. I'm like, you know what? Let's watch a different show for a while before we come back to season 6. Like, so I'm really letting it like marinate that he's gone. And then season 6, episode 1, like rising at the end of that. Just
that's iconic. What my mom thought happened when
Harry Potter,
when Dumbledore died.
Oh.
When Dumbledore was killed, like I remember she swore, she was like, he's not dead. He's coming back. He's coming back. He's coming back. And he never came back. And that was devastating.
Seriously.
But that actually is very similar to when Harry died. But then like the Jon Snow dying is very similar to when the Harry. It's so funny how they all like, they have so many of the same stories.
It's funny and it's not. It's like the archetypal story. Like if we go back 2,000 years, there's another story similar to that one as well, that all of these are mirroring.
They all follow that. They follow that theme. So crazy.
Mm-hmm.
What do we got next on the docket, Michael?
This is from a coaching client of mine who asked this for the pod. I'm going to leave her name out just because I'm not sure if she wants it. And it's a little like, but you'll hear. Hi, Mike. I currently do consultation calls for an online coaching company. The company I work for has a DMer, basically a person who cold DMs people through the owner's Instagram page and also the team page to sign up for consultation calls. Maybe it's just me, but it feels very inauthentic to have someone else running your DMs pretending to be you. This seems to be a common practice for a lot of online coaching companies with a larger following, but it always felt wrong to me. In addition, we advertise consultation calls as a no-pressure call just for information, but now we have some sales training expert working with us to increase close rates and get credit card info on calls. It again just feels inauthentic. If it's a sales call, don't act like it's not a sales call, right? Overall, can you and Jordan share your thoughts on a DMer and any tips for not making the consultation calls feel so gross? Thanks. Yeah.
And this was a client of yours?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that. It's a great client to have. Yeah, it's funny. I was speaking at an event in Vegas 2 days ago, and someone asked me in the crowd, she asked, when you're like, she was basically like, do you handle your DMs, or like how many people on your team do DMs for you? And I didn't realize that this woman actually has a huge audience, and she's DM'd me before and I've replied to her. I only figured this out after she asked the question. And I was like, if someone DMs me and there's a reply, I am the only one replying. And I was like, no one has my Instagram password for many reasons, but I'm not giving that to anyone. And I completely agree with the person who wrote this email. I think it's very, you know what, I'll give an example. Gary Vaynerchuk did a great job with making Team Gary V. He made a separate Instagram account for Team Gary V so that, and they do that. They will DM people, but under the name of Team Gary V. It's not DMing people under his name. It's not from his account. And I think that's a much more ethical and straightforward way to do it, as opposed to having people DM from his account, almost pretending to be him. So I'm not a fan of having people in your DMs. Like if it's your account, it should be your account. If you want to have a different account for your team, great, go for it. I think that's much more ethical. But then again, I could also say, like, who the fuck am I to talk about ethical? Because like we were talking about before this conversation, we all like we essentially pick and choose our ethics, right? Or like which ethics we choose to follow. I know you're not going to like necessarily agree with that, but it's like, it's very easy to like, if someone's like, you know what, like, fine, I'm going to do my own thing, right? It's easy for me to say, I don't think you should do that. But then I might do something else that someone else says, well, I think that's unethical. And it's like, we all do unethical shit. But anyway, if it's up to me, you do not have someone else answering your DMs. I think there's nothing necessarily wrong with calling it a consult call. I think it feels a little bit slimy and smarmy to like,
they advertise it on the front end as a no pressure call, but then on the back end, they are paying a sales training consultant to help them close at a higher rate.
The thing is, like, here's what I would say. It is a no pressure, like they're not required to sign up. They're not paying for the call. And I don't have a real issue with that, to be very honest with you. Like, they're learning how to sell. It's a business, and like they get on the phone. Hopefully that person will get something out of the call, and they didn't pay for it. They're not paying for that time. It's not like, hey, this is a no pressure call, but you've got to pay $50 or $100 to get on the phone with us. It's like, no, it's like, I don't see an issue with learning the skill of sales to then get them on the phone and then see if they want to buy from you. I don't have an issue with that. If they're saying, hey, this is not a sales call, we will not be selling you something, but then you are, well, that's the issue. But I don't have an issue with that part of it. The biggest issue I have is having people who are not you in your DMs pretending to be you. So yeah. And then if you want, I would just be very honest and be like, hey, listen, we have a no pressure call. If you want, you could say like, listen, part of the reason we have the call is because we want to see if we would be a good fit. And like, if you'd like to do our coaching with us, but if you don't owe us any money. It's 100% free. You can hang up anytime you want. I think that would be a good way to go about it if you'd like, if maybe to make you to feel a little bit better about the process and being fully honest going into it. But again, the biggest issue that I have is people who are not you in your DMs pretending to be you. That's my biggest issue. What do you think?
I'm not a fan of either. I also am a much bigger fan of maximizing brand and goodwill over a 30 or 40 year window than maximizing revenue in a 1 or a 2 or a 3 year window. Mm-hmm. I'd rather not burn my audience in the short term just to make an extra buck or two. I'd rather build something slow and steady for the long term. So if someone else is going to be in the DMs other than the individual whose account it is, assuming it's not like a company, but a person, another strategy that could be used is have the person sign their name, right? So when Jordan's assistant is emailing from Jordan's account, she signs her name. She doesn't sign Jordan's name. She signs her name in those emails back and forth. Same thing in a DM situation. If it's someone else, that person can have, put a little dash their name at the end of the message, not pretend to be someone else. I actually just think it's better business practice too. Like, Maybe I think I could make an argument that it's better business practice financially to do the right thing in both of these situations. Mm-hmm. And I'll make the case on the sales call. Clients or potential clients who you have to twist their arm to sign up for coaching are more difficult clients, churn quicker, cancel sooner, give less referrals, are more of a pain in the ass than clients who you've given so much good free content over the years that they're basically begging for a spot in your one-on-one coaching program are going to be better, easier clients. You're going to make a way better dollar per hour working with that client than the person who you really have to put pressure on and sell to join your coaching program. So I think it's actually, and there's a reason why, like, I basically don't sell and am shit at selling, is because, well, one, it just is who I am. But two, I also don't think that the need would drastically improve a solopreneur's business. Now, if you have a team of 15 coaches and like you are just trying to maximize the number of clients at all costs, and it doesn't matter what the quality of those clients are, maybe it is more profitable to go in with like optimal sales strategies into calls. But I'm not a fan of either approach. And
so I agree with you, especially in the last part, which is why I don't do that either. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking more from the ethical standpoint, like, is it ethical from like to have a DMer and go in? It's like, yeah, I think it's totally ethical as long as they're not pretending to be you. Mm-hmm. And I think getting the sales training, I think that's ethical as long as the way that you're doing it is ethical, as long as you're not pretending it's something that it's not, as long as that you're not lying, any of that. Personally, I don't do that stuff for all of the reasons that you mentioned. I think it's way more profitable. I think it's a better strategy to not do that. But just purely from the ethics perspective, and this person's email, they had said they they felt a little bit like it's not right and they're not sure about it. So from that perspective, I think like, I don't think they should feel bad like they're doing something wrong getting sales training. But then, you know, some people like do some smarmy sales training and smarmy sales stuff. So it's like, I don't know what's going on in the sales calls. I don't know what they're telling you to do. If I don't like the idea, you know, maybe in the sales training, if they're saying things like, you got to twist their pain points, you got to figure out what their pain is and just drive that home. Well, then 100%. That's bullshit. It's horseshit. And that I think is very unethical. But like, if they're like, yeah, listen, so here's how sales work. Like, here's the psychology of sales. Here's like how, like, here's what you can do. Sort of like we do in the mentorship, how we talk about like how sales work and how to structure a launch or how to talk to your clients or potential clients. I think that's great. But if it's done with the back end intent of trying to make them feel like shit or fear monger or whatever it is, just to try and get them to sign up, now you've got a different beast on your hands.
I've never wanted to hurt someone as much as being on the other end of a sales call where the person won't let me hang up. Or when some solicitor comes and they're like, yeah, can we, you know, we can debug your house and spray insect pesticide around. It's only this cost. And your neighbor Darcy and your neighbor Jerry, like they sign. I'm like, look, I just moved here. I don't know any of my neighbors. Like, you trying to like build that rapport isn't working. I completely understand. But, and then they go on with their next thing. And there's definitely a name for this, but it's like, I say no. And then they're like, oh, totally agree. Totally understand. But let me like, get off my property. Like I hate being sold to in that way. And therefore I wouldn't do it. And sure, there's nothing inherently unethical about sales, but if you're calling a sales call a no pressure call and then you put maximum pressure on that person to buy your service, that's lying.
Agreed.
And people lie in business. Like, cool, but that's not how we run things, and that's not how you need to run things. But the real difficult thing here is this is a person working at a company, so I don't know how much she can do to change the entire culture, to like, if she's allowed to operate outside the bounds of what she's taught. That's where it's difficult.
And that's where, you know, the question is, all right, would you rather work for someone else and follow what they say? Or if you don't like the systems, then either find another job or make your own. And like, if you really are not a fan of how this is being run, then go find someone else who are more aligned with you or start your own shit. But yeah, I completely agree. And sort of on that note, I was thinking of something interesting, like the annoying salesperson, whether they come to your door or they're getting you on the phone. I hate that. And it makes me never want to work with them. What has worked well, especially for restaurants, is when I move into a new apartment building and they just leave something at my door, like a piece of paper for like, hey, like you get this % off of your first meal or something. Bro, that works on me every time. Like every time. And I think it's such a smart strategy. I wanted to do this when I opened up a gym in Boston with the partner of mine. I wanted to go to all of the business, like office buildings and all of the residentials and leave these cards. You get like 50% off your first month of training, stuff like that. And the guy I was working with just didn't want to hear it. And I was like, this is like, we're literally in the financial district of Boston, surrounded by so many people. I don't know why you don't want to do this. But if a restaurant says you get 15% off your first order, whatever it is, I will almost always like find something and order it and see how it is, and then often become a regular patron there. And I think you could follow that same strategy in terms of fitness, where if you're the DMer or whatever it is, like if it's your business and you're DMing people, like I don't like the idea of having a cut and paste, but something like, hey, listen, thank you so much for your support. I'm doing something right now where like I'd like to get on the phone with more people and see if we're good fits for coaching. If you want to hop on a call, it's 100% free. If you end up signing on, you'll get 50% off your first month of coaching with me. If you don't want to sign on, cool, that's totally fine. You didn't pay anything and that's it. But that might be an interesting strategy for someone to try if they do maybe like the sales process, and if they do want to see if that can lead to a higher conversion rate and also find some good clients as well. That might be, I think, a better and more honest and ethical strategy.
Yeah, the way you formatted that DM is much more straightforward. I completely agree.
Bro, I saw this thing today on Instagram. AI is so crazy, bro. Someone made this AI video of Biden announcing the start of World War III and how like commencing the draft and all of that, and like it was very good. It wasn't perfect. Like I think he mumbles a little bit more than in the AI video, and like in the AI video but even the way that he said Kiev in the video, bro, it was perfect, and it was like, oh my god, this shit is scary that they're able to completely make up a speech, and like make it look exactly like so real and sound so real. It was. I just saw it before we got on. I was like, man, this is insane.
I wonder how deep fakes are going to be like handled by social media companies and the internet in general, and how like authentication of, genuine video is going to be tackled. I have no idea. I haven't thought that far ahead, but.
And so there's the obvious part being of people like making things up, right? Where it's like someone makes something completely up and people could be prosecuted and put in prison for something they didn't do because of an AI thing. And you're laughing because that's like my worst fear ever. But like,
you're just like spiraling.
That's like always my first thought. I'm like, oh my God, people are going to like make shit up. And like,
go to jail.
It's very real. But the other aspect of the reverse side of it is someone could do something and then be like, no, but that wasn't me. This is AI. Someone made this up. Or someone could make a video of them saying something, it get a terrible response, people get really mad at them, and then be like, that wasn't actually me. That was AI. Someone made that up, right? It's like, it's pretty crazy now. Like, you're not going to know what to believe. You could literally see someone in front of you saying something, and it could actually not be them, or it could be them, but they're saying it wasn't them, and you have no idea. Like, it's a scary time.
Yeah. I have no idea how that's going to be handled.
Good talk.
No, I don't know where to take this. I have no control over it. I don't know that much about like the technology, I hope the really smart people of the world figure out a solution quick, and then we all get to benefit from it.
Yeah, I agree.
Because we don't want to end up in jail for things we didn't say or do.
Bro, you're preaching. Definitely don't want to end up in jail for things we didn't say or do.
I'm not even going to.
What are you thinking? Say it. Well, I can tell you want to say something and you're like, I don't know if I should. But it's a one-take show, bro.
A lot of people have accomplished amazing things while in prison.
Why would you say that?
Because I'm trying to go glass half full. But I really, and I don't know enough about like the different kinds of prison, right? Clearly there's like real bad stuff that happens in prison.
High security prisons. Yeah.
High security with like isolation, or just, getting raped, like getting beat to a bloody pulp, like race wars, gang wars. I don't know how much is movie versus reality. I unfortunately think a lot of it is reality.
You haven't seen The Office. If you had, then you would know about Prison Mike. Michael Scott pretends to have gone to prison. This whole skit.
Yeah, you love that show.
You hate that show, and it blows me away.
No, I don't hate it.
You hate it.
I don't hate it. I just...
Because there's no archetypal character. There's no one to really look up to. That's why you don't really like it. And you don't like that humor.
I don't like that humor. That's the real main thing. Because White Lotus didn't have any aspirational protagonist, but it did hit culture on the nose, which is fun.
Yeah. You know, it was a great show that you told me to watch. Actually, I think Gary told you to watch it, and then you told me to watch it. It was that chess show, The Queen's Gambit.
Oh yeah, mm-hmm.
Dude, that was a great one.
Mm-hmm.
That was I remember that. I think I watched that early on in COVID. Man, that was a really good one.
Yeah, chess really popped after that.
Yeah, it did.
It did a lot for chess. I had to like stop playing chess for a while.
You're just playing so much.
Playing too many hours of online chess. I'm definitely not a chess master, but...
Well, you beat me every time.
Sure. That's...
He's like, yeah, well, you suck.
Well, I started playing chess when I was like 5.
One time I almost won.
Yeah.
One time. And then you still beat me.
You had like an extra piece in the end game.
You've been playing since 5 with your dad?
Played with my
Who'd you play with at 5?
My grandpa first. and then my mom
Okay.
shortly after
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Oh, so
On
your
and
mom
off.
played. Was
My
she
mom
good?
knew how to play.
No.
It's all relative. She knew how to play. Yeah.
Yeah, she knew the rules enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What else you got? You got anything? You know what? We talked about this a little bit. I think it was off pod. I have a funny feeling. I'm gonna keep it here. There might be a new format coming to the How to Become a Personal Trainer podcast. It's gonna be fire.
What? Let's talk about it.
We'll keep it a little bit of a secret.
Okay. All right.
No, let's talk about it. I think we both bring a few topics to every episode. Kind of like the Biden thing, except maybe more fitness. But the AI was related. It's content.
You're just like, yeah, like the Biden thing, but not political.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yes.
I like that it was the AI focus, not the Biden focus.
But I think that could be really, really interesting.
Like what? You mean just like topics that are big right now in the world, but more fitness related?
It could be like a new study that came out. It could be like the health at every size influencer who got arrested for, like whatever. Like it could be anything. Like, did you hear?
Did you see that a doctor said, dude, I'm super tuned in. I'm sure a lot of the people listening saw this. There was a doctor who was like, the appropriate serving size of French fries is 6 French fries. And you should not have more than 6 French fries. And then he was saying, like, if you are going to have French fries, then just take 6 for yourself and give the others to other people so they can have 6. And I was like, this guy's out of his fucking mind. Like, this is why behavioral psychology and why like understanding human behavior needs to be an equal component of training and coaching and nutrition and all of that, not just understanding physiology, not just understanding medicine, not just like you have to know how people really behave. To advise people to take 6 fucking French fries out of their McDonald's fry container it's stupid. It's just stupid or silly. It's silly.
It's both. Who would rather eat 6 fries than 0 is the real question. Like, let's say you have, I don't know how many fries it normally comes with, 80, let's say, maybe 100. I have no idea. Nice, warm McDonald's fries, well salted, like that perfect carb to fat ratio, just prime. Probably the best fries of all time. Some ketchup, maybe if you're into ketchup. And then you eat 6.
I'm not a ketchup guy. Yeah.
Okay. You eat 6 and you leave the other 94. Like no one. It's like the eating one Oreo. It's like
no, get out. Yeah.
No, it actually would be.
Good luck.
On like a percentage basis compared to the actual serving size, it'd be like eating a quarter of an Oreo.
Yeah.
And then just leaving the rest of the sleeve. Silly.
No. Silly.
A lot of silliness out there on the internet. What else are you seeing out there on the internet these days?
Or is it pronounced erythritol? Erythritol?
I think that's right. I pride myself on not knowing how to pronounce words, and then I just say it's because I read a lot.
People say I mispronounce muscle hypertrophy.
Hypertrophy.
They say it's hypertrophy. I'm like,
no.
I think that's what they say. It's hypertrophy.
You might have an Israeli enunciation on that one.
The muscle hypertrophy, brother. Yes, of course. You want the big muscles.
not the accent, but the emphasis. That's what the word I'm looking for.
Oh, the second syllable.
Yeah.
The second syllable. Yeah.
Hypertrophy.
Got it.
Hypertrophy. Regardless.
Hypertrophy. Anyway, erythritol had a big thing come out. There's a whole. Did you see this? This is all over social media. You had to see it. Lane made a video on it. Dr. Ids made a video on it.
I was on vacation and then I was sick.
Oh, yeah. Basically, a study came out showing that higher levels of erythritol in your blood have a much greater consequence of cardiovascular issues, whether it's heart attacks, whatever it is. And immediately all these people are like, you shouldn't have erythritol, blah, blah, blah. But then Lane and Dr. Ids and a lot of medical professionals came out, Peter Attia, they were essentially critiquing the study. They're like, there's a big difference between blood erythritol versus if you were eating it. And what they were saying is that if someone is likely to have a cardiovascular event, then their levels of erythritol in the blood will increase no matter what. So a lot of these people might have had a lot of erythritol in their blood, not because they were eating large portions of it, but because they were about to have a cardiovascular event. So they were saying like this study didn't actually measure how much erythritol people were eating, which is a huge flaw in the study. It was just solely measuring how much erythritol was found in the blood. And then they said, and these people were also significantly more likely to have a cardiovascular event. And then, Lane and Dr. Ids and Peter T and all these people, they're just like, well, of course that is going to happen because that's what happens before someone does have a cardiovascular event. But that doesn't mean that it came from them eating it. It just means like that's a natural physiological response when you're about to have a cardiovascular event. And so basically there are all these other people outside of the science-based fitness industry saying, don't eat erythritol. This is why, da, 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 da. So this is a big thing in the fitness industry as of the last week or two.
It's interesting to see because there's such a plethora of science and different studies and evidence, and many of which contradicts each other for many reasons, people just cherry picking science that fits their current beliefs. And then pedestaling their current beliefs in the name of science rather than going into it more objectively and analyzing the study.
It's also, this is the issue with having all of this information so easily and readily accessible. I remember, when you and I were just getting in industry, it's like if someone was going to cite a study, they almost always like read the whole study. Like very rarely was anyone cherry picking stuff off of PubMed based on off the title. Like it did happen, but not nearly as much as it does now. And I think now it happens more because more and more people have access to these headlines, and they're seeing like just some random person on TikTok or Instagram show a headline of a research article without actually diving into it, and then they don't actually have the classical training of reading research to understand the flaws of the study design, the physiological responses, all of that, and then just making this content talking about the headlines rather than really understanding the science. That's why I think Alan Aragon's research review is the best thing anyone can really subscribe to, is if you to not just learn about what he's saying. I think one of the greatest benefits I got from Alan's research review was learning how to critique research. I was in college when I joined his research review, which I'm still a member of, $10 a month, and we do not get paid for this. I was in college and I was taking a class on how to read research. They had entire courses on how to read research, how to analyze studies, and how to use PubMed and how to use these different journals and how to sift through them and how to search and how to read all of that. And that was one of the only classes in college that I just aced, and it was nothing to do with what I learned in the class and everything to do with how I learned from Alan's research review. Everything. Just seeing him break down studies and seeing how he understood how to read the research, how to critique the research, the pros, the cons, all of that. It was just seeing him do it over and over and over again taught me how to read research. It was not what I learned in school. In school, I paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for, and Alan Aragon's research review, it's $10 a month. It was like, Jesus, this is just so much better.
The internet's amazing.
Yeah.
After I was about to go on a little anti-science rant, but after you saying all those nice things about Alan's research review, I'm going to say,
well, go on an anti-science rant. We could do both. This is nothing to do. I actually think Alan brings the perfect amount of science to his positions. The pendulum seems to have swung too sciencey in terms of training optimization, in terms of exercise selection, rep range, intensity, like everything being very, very measured versus and less of like the classic 1970s Arnold intuition based, not just approach to training, but approach to life,
right?
Mhm.
Like go to bed at 8:37 p.m. and wake up 9 minutes before sunrise and get 19 minutes of sunlight directly on your retina at a 15-degree angle at this exact time, and don't drink your coffee until 76 minutes before you or after you wake up, and then you only have this much. Like everything is becoming so measured to a fault. And I think that many people, myself included, could benefit from just like trusting your gut and acting from that position more than this hyper analysis, which can lead to paralysis via analysis, and just get out there and live rather than overanalyze everything.
Could not agree more. And it's funny, like that's not anti-science. That's like, I think real science points to, more than anything, is just putting in the work. Like if you do the work, regardless of what order you do it in, regardless of what time you do it at, regardless of, and just if you do it consistently, we see the results are essentially the same. And that's really it, regardless of the line of pull, or if you're doing 11 reps or 12 and a half reps, or you're doing this, or like, just fucking work.
Mm-hmm.
And like, as long as you do the work, it's gonna work out. But most people, they just don't do the work. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I actually think a lot of people, I was talking about this with some people during the event that I was speaking at. There was this one woman who came up to me in particular, and she was like, I've been a coach for a number of years, not like 10 years, probably like 3 or 4. And she's like, I've learned so much. And she was telling me all of the certifications that she has and all of the books that she's read. And I could tell just from talking to her, she's incredibly smart. You know, when you're talking to a coach, you know, who really is worth their salt, you can tell within 15 seconds if they actually know what they're talking about. Like, this woman was incredibly smart. And I knew she had invested a ton of time and effort into learning and studying. And she was saying she has this feeling of guilt now that she should still be learning. And she's not sure at what point she should stop learning and start implementing, or essentially like stop consuming content and start creating her own content type of thing. And I told her it's not black and white. It's not like you have to stop learning. But right now, 100% of your time is spent learning. What if you drop it to 50% of your time studying, and then 50% of your time is spent creating? And then eventually maybe like 30% is spent learning and 70% is spent creating. It's not either or. But after a certain point, no matter how much science you know, no matter all, it's like, you've got to, if you really want to implement this, you've got to start teaching people. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people use science or studying essentially as a crutch that prevents them from ever progressing. And I know some people do this with college and do this with higher level education, where they're so nervous to go out into the real world that they just keep looking for more degrees because they're so comfortable in that education world that once they would leave the education world, it becomes very scary and overwhelming, and they don't know what to do. They're no longer getting a letter grade. So like, they don't know how to exceed or succeed, excel in life outside of that controlled environment. So they just keep falling back into that habit of, well, I'll just learn more, I'll learn more, which is great. But after a certain point, it's like, you've got to implement. You've got to do stuff. You've got to put stuff out there. Implement, and then realize that, and people don't realize this, that you're going to continue to learn while you're doing, even separate from the studying. Even when you go from 100% studying, 0 doing to 50-50, you're going to learn through doing. Like, here, I'll give you an analogy. You're the analogy king. You can rate this 1 to 10. Like, you could sit there and read about how to swim. You could read 1,000 books and watch 1,000 YouTube videos and study the great swimmers. But until you get in the pool, like, you're not going to learn how to swim. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And 7, I love that. 7. And, yeah, you didn't like it that much. 6.5. Well, what I'll say is, I think I'd like a number, please. 7. I'll give a 7 to that one. The reason that I'm going to add to it is just because this woman and many coaches, they're in a position where they want to coach people and they want to help people. So I'm in this analogy, she knows how to swim, but she doesn't know how to teach swimming. So she can watch YouTube videos on how to teach the breaststroke and how to teach the freestyle and the backstroke. I don't know the swimming stuff. But like, she can watch all these and read all these on coaching and manuals and the science. But the only way she's going to learn how to coach someone how to swim is to get in the fucking pool and start teaching them how to swim. And then she's going to work with one person, and then 10 people and 20 people and 100 people. And ideally, your 100th student, you will teach way faster than your first student, because you'll have more knowledge. But it only comes from getting in the pool and teaching. It's like you have to actually practice the skill of teaching, not just the skill of learning.
I think it was a 9 out of 10, to be honest, but we'll press on.
We'll call it 8. Call it in the middle.
I don't think so. I'm going to give it a 9. Please leave us a review for this podcast. It's going to help us reach more people. 5-star review would be much, much, much appreciated. Spotify, Apple, thumbs up on YouTube. We don't have sponsors. We don't have advertisements. We don't have pre-rolls. We don't have any of that nonsense to waste your time. We're just bringing you weekly free content Tuesday mornings, all week, every week, 2023 and beyond. Love you. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.
And we don't have DMers either.
Yeah, there's no
one's
cold
DMing
DMers.
you. No cold DMers. All right. So 5-star reviews are amazing. Thumbs up are amazing. Comments and like written reviews are even better. So if you could do that as well, that'd be great. But have a great day. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Bye.